Welcome back, guys, to our YouTube channel. I am Chet Nichols, IFBB Pro, NPC Judge, and Physique Coach. And this is my wife, Natalie Nichols, who is also an IFBB Pro, NPC Judge, and Physique Coach as well. And so this is our third and final installment with Dr. Peter Fitschen. Did I get it right this time?
No, Fitschen.
Okay, introduce him for me, right?
Dr. Peter Fitschen.
Fitschen, okay. All right. So I'm married up here, so we're good here. So today we're going to talk about a topic that, man, it's just so devastating what I hear people doing the starter prep, doing 60 minutes of cardio, 3 or 4 or 5 days a week. Some people even doing it in the beginning. So that's not good. So Peter, why don't you jump right in on this? And because, you know, like you, we're cardio minimalists. So let's start the off season. We'll start there. What is your plan for your folks cardio in the off season?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not opposed to having some cardio in if someone wants to do it in the off season. You know, if someone wants to do a couple 20-minute sessions a week or something in the off season for overall health, I don't see any harm in that. You know, if we don't have any included, that's okay too, as long as they're staying active outside the gym. I just for overall health, like I don't want to see someone not doing cardio and living a sedentary lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like that.
There's got to be a little balance there.
Yeah, like, you know, if the person's fairly active throughout the day, you know, they work an active job or they have like pets, they're walking multiple times a day or something, like, you know, no cardio is fine. But just, you know, I just don't want them to go into slug mode. But but
if somebody's got like 3,000 steps a day, you might need to do a little bit.
Yeah,
extra.
I might need to do a little cardio. Got to do something, you know, move a little more. But no, I think, you know, keeping cardio at an amount in the off season that, you know, you have somewhere to go when prep starts, because, you know, if you're doing no cardio in the off season, you know, a lot of times during prep, I will just try to cut food at first, you know, and leave cardio as something maybe we can throw in later on. And, you know, once you throw in cardio, if you're doing 0 sessions, it's pretty easy to add a couple 20-minute sessions a week or something like that. And that's an effective, like, thing to add. Like when you add it, it's effective, it works, it helps. And then if you're doing,
they haven't done it up to this point, so it's an instant burn.
Yeah, more than they're doing. So, and you know, if you're doing 2 20-minute sessions a week, all right, well, maybe we, you know, hit another plateau. Okay, let's do 3 30-minute sessions. Like that's, you know, there's still somewhere to go. Like it's not, you know, if you're starting with 5 45-minute sessions of cardio a week, you're going to be doing an hour of cardio a day pretty quickly, because that's, you know, 5 45-minute sessions of cardio is kind of your baseline going into prep. And so you're going to have to expend more than that, you know, as you hit plateaus, you know, and so, yeah, if you can go in with, you know, minimal amounts of cardio, and that's kind of what you've been rolling with and maintaining weight, or, you know, at that, you got a lot of room to work with.
And that's the thing. I see too often some coaches, cardio is part of their programming. I mean, and believe it or not, I've seen people, I mean, even still 8, 9, 10 weeks out doing more cardio than their workouts.
Yeah.
You know, and that to me is that's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. I don't see it. If you're having to do that already, you probably started prep a little bit early.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
I would say a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I would
know,
agree.
and one of the things y'all pointed out too, and I think this is very, very important, you know, those final stages of prep, and you're doing that much cardio. I know you've seen it. People can still get to a point where they're not losing weight anymore. And, you know, even at poverty calories and stuff. And I've actually seen a few people kind of gain weight. I mean, it happens more often than people realize. When you say,
especially with women when their hormones get jacked up.
Oh,
right
yeah.
Yeah. And one thing, there is some data that you don't get quite the bang for your buck when you add more activity, when activity is already at an extreme. You know, so there's some evidence that, and they don't have exact numbers on this. So I'm throwing out theoretical numbers here, but like, I don't know, say someone's doing 2 hours of cardio a day and they add another 30 minutes a day. You know, that's, you know, 30 minutes a day, extra 3.5 hours of cardio a week. Compare that person to someone who's doing 0 cardio and they add 30 minutes of cardio a day. That's 3.5 hours of cardio a week. That person who's doing 0 and adds 3.5 hours of cardio a day will see a greater effect on their total daily energy expenditure than the person who's doing a lot, because you start seeing, when you get to those extremes in activity, you start becoming more efficient at energy expenditure during exercise. And some of like the involuntary stuff starts down regulating. So you start twitching, fidgeting less, and some of those involuntary components of non-exercise activity start going down. And so the end result is you don't get as much bang for your buck. Like that's where you see people who are doing hours of cardio and then they add more and it doesn't make that much of a difference. Like it doesn't, it doesn't make the difference it did like when they weren't doing as much cardio. And there's actually some scientific data to support that as well. That there may be a reason why.
Yeah. So just generally speaking, for the wider audience out there, if you're doing none or bare minimum, and then you add in some, like your 30 minutes, that's like a big shock to your system. It's like, bang, we're going to burn some calories. But if you're doing a lot already, and then you add a little bit more, that's like a little nudge.
Yeah.
If that, I mean, you've got to make sure that your body is surprised with it instead of it's just a little bit more adding on there,
Yeah, and I think also something else that's going to have a negative impact on your physique is muscle wasting if you're doing too much. I mean, when you're going those extreme amounts and you're already low calories, body fat's already low, I mean, your body's going to pull that energy from somewhere, and you can't make it do it just from body fat or muscle. It's going to choose where it's going to pull that from, and it's not always going to be what you want it to be.
Yeah, no, and I would also, one reason I think a lot of people end up losing more muscle also when they're doing a lot of cardio is it's more volume to recover from. It's a different type of training volume, but it's still more volume. So, if you're in the gym lifting for an hour to an hour and a half, and then you're trying to do 2 hours of cardio a day on top of that, that is a lot to recover from. And so, I think, recovery is an issue. And then also mentally, like, can you push as hard lifting as so if you knew you had 2 hours of cardio to do
exactly, it's that mental, it's coming.
Coming. Can you push as hard during lifting? Because you can't just leave it all out there lifting, because you got to save something to get through your cardio. And so I think that there's that component as well, that like just so there might be a recovery component as well as just a mental component as to why you might not be able to train as hard or train as heavy. And that's what's keeping muscle on you while you diet is continuing to train hard. And so I always tell clients, a lot of what we're doing, a lot of our focus, is going to be around what is going to allow you to train the hardest in the gym. So, that might be things like putting refeed days on the day of or the day prior to hard workouts, or, if you're someone who does better with a higher carb meal before your workout, having a higher carb meal before your workout, or, if you're doing HIIT cardio, doing HIIT cardio not the day before a leg day if you're doing lower body HIIT, but thinking of, trying to do everything you can, because lifting is still the focus. So all of these other things that have to get fit in during prep, like lifting still the focus, keeping that performance up in the gym, and doing tons of cardio can make it very difficult physically and mentally to keep that performance up where it needs to be in the gym.
Yeah, and these are bodybuilding competitions. They're not getting lean competitions, so we're not looking for marathon runner physiques here. So.
I think one of the things that people don't consider is, okay, so what happens when you step off the stage for the last time that season? I mean, I think it's a little bit easier to continue with workouts afterwards, but if you're doing, 4 or 5 days a week of 30, 40, 50-minute cardio sessions, how likely are you going to be doing that at the, when you start your off season? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that we want to do a whole bunch of cardio, but we got to kind of bring it down slowly, because if you stop right away or even cut it like in half, whatever, there's going to be repercussions. I mean, number one, your calories go up just a little bit. You don't have that much calorie burn. You're going to put a lot of body fat on really quick. And it boils down to sustainability. Yes, we want to look good on stage. Yes, we want to look lean, but we also got to think about what happens afterwards and keep things as stable, or I should say, as stable as possible when we come out of it, right?
Yeah. I think with cardio, I have a couple thoughts. I guess one would be that, some of the worst post-show like rebounds I've seen are from clients who worked with other coaches who were doing like the 2 hours a day cardio with very, very low calories and things like that. That's some of the worst rebounds I've seen after a show. We're trying to work with that. They start working with me right after their show on the reverse, but their ability to stay consistent and I mean, even if if we push for faster loss and go more aggressive with the reverse, just trying to find a middle ground, it can be difficult. And you just see huge regains very, very quickly a lot of times when you go to those extremes. But I also think that, kind of side note, rate of gain post show, I'm fine with people pushing a little faster rate of gain over the first couple months till they start to feel more normal and then slowing it from there. But if you look at the data in post show, it seems like a happy medium is probably best, because if you don't gain weight back, you gain too slow, you're prolonging the time you're super lean, and so hormone levels, metabolic rate don't come back. But there's also some preliminary data that if you gain super fast, it seems to interfere with that as well. Like binging your way back isn't the answer. It's kind of that middle ground, and so, maybe trying to shoot for 1 pound, 2 pounds a week for the first month or two till you feel more normal. So you are gaining, and so cardio is going to come down, but yeah, you can't go from, a lot of times a good starting point generically, if you're shooting for 1 pound or 2 pounds a week, coming out of a show, yeah, maybe you cut your cardio in half or so to start. But if you're doing 14 hours of cardio a week, like how likely is it you're going to do like 7? You know what I mean? Where if you're doing, it wouldn't be uncommon for someone who's got a slower metabolism, maybe you have to do 6 45-minute sessions a week or something like that. Okay, so coming out of a show, maybe we start with like, 4 30-minute sessions or something like that.
You're tapering down as you go through your reverse and not cutting it cold turkey. But whenever you're done with the show, that short-term goal is not there anymore, so it's harder to stay on track.
Absolutely.
So again, if you have 300 or 400 or 500 minutes a week, man, even cutting that in half, it's kind of tough to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, and so that's where it can be really difficult post-show. And some people simply need a good amount of cardio. You can do everything right, and food's got to get low and cardio's got to get high, and that just kind of is the way it is for them. But yeah, there's a big, I always tell people there's a big difference between your prep becoming extreme because it has to become extreme because you can't get away with less than that. And so that's completely different than going to extremes from the start because you think I'm in prep that has to be extreme.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people do think that if I'm not to the extremes, I'm not doing something right. And maybe I've seen people recently asking for advice because they think that they need to be more aggressive than their coach is being because they don't feel like they're dead yet, basically,
Yeah, no, I had a guy
can win the race,
Yeah, I had a guy last year who came off of a lot. His previous preps were the 2-hour cardio, no carb, 2-hour cardio, extreme preps, and it was his first prep with me. And he kept asking me when we're going to add cardio, and or do we need to make some adjustments? I'm still eating, almost 200 grams of carbs a day. Because he had a slower metabolism, but he's like, I'm still eating almost 200 grams of carbs a day, and we're only doing a couple 30-minute sessions of cardio a week. Do you think we need a little less food or a little more cardio? And we had this conversation, part of the way through his prep, and I was like, dude, you're still losing like 1.5 pounds a week here. Like we're great.
Embrace that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no need to change anything.
More than likely, the time is going to come when we get to that. So let's limit that time as much as possible.
And by the end of his prep, he was someone who had to go sub 100 grams of carbs a day, and he was doing 5 or 6 cardio sessions a week, and his step counts were high, and you know what I mean. And that's where he had to go because like I said, he is someone still who had a slower metabolism who really has to push to get stage lean, and those people exist. But we got there by the end. We had to push, but that wasn't the entire prep, and it didn't have to be. He got a good chunk of the way there before we ever got to some of those crazy extremes.
Yeah. So guys, I kind of leave it at this. I know you got to get going here. Appreciate everything, but on this, just remember, cardio is a tool in the tool belt. It's not a program to base your prep on or anything like that. Use it wisely, and if you're not having to do a whole bunch of cardio in the beginning, embrace that, because more than likely it's going to come, and and to get stage lean, that's just kind of part of it, right? So if there's any final thoughts on this, and what you got, man?
Yeah, I think my biggest thought would be, just keeping cardio down as low as you need to in order to see your appropriate progress. And that will give you room to work with. And like you said, at some point you're going to probably have to do more as you get closer to stage lean. And so if you can start from a lower amount and build from there, rather than starting up here and having to build even higher, it's going to have a number of benefits in terms of just your overall progress and holding on to muscle and your enjoyment of prep in general.
Yeah, and that still goes back to what we were talking about still being able to live your life. And you've only got so many hours in the day. If you're gonna have to spend those hours in the gym lifting. You're gonna have to spend those hours eventually doing the cardio. So try and leave some time while you can, as long as your body's responding appropriately, to still live.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Peter. Really appreciate this. So for any of our viewers out there who want to get in contact with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, so a few ways. They can email me at fitbodyphysique@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram at fitbodyphysique. I'm on Facebook, or my website, fitbodyphysique.com. So any of those will work.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot. Until next time, guys. We'll see ya.